Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to The Other People's Show, Friday, May 9th, 10:35 p.m. And we're going to be talking about a few little things tonight. It's always fun to be here with you, and I do enjoy being on the radio for you guys and gals to tune into and step a little bit away from your life, maybe while you're driving down the road. Maybe you listen to this on Spotify. Maybe you listen to this on Apple Music. Maybe you listen to this on WLSDradio.com. But wherever, whenever, thank you for tuning in. That's what I want to say. A few little things I want to touch on tonight. We do have Mother's Day coming up Sunday. So a very special shout out to all the mothers. I want to give a very special shout out to my mother, Susan. Thank you for being there always. And through thick and thin, never falling by the wayside and always going your hardest. And I do appreciate that very, very much. And love you very much as well. So happy Mother's Day. Now, I don't know about you all, but I guess we're slowly, the summer season officially begins, June 20th, June 21st, something like that. But as of now, my allergies have been constantly making me want to rip my eyeballs out. Hey, Jason. And I don't like ripping my eyeballs out. That is one of the last things that I do want to do. I'd rather, do so many other things than that. But I'm almost to the point of having to do that just because the allergies are so bad. Even now, I have on black rimmed glasses right now. And I'm wanting to take the lens out of these glasses and just scratch. I like to just pluck my eyeball out of my socket, into my hand, blow the dust, the residue, the itchy allergies out, and then pop them back in. Now, when I was a wee lad, we lived in Washington State for a couple of years. And during those years, we lived in, my stepdad was in the Navy, so we moved on to kind of a Navy base to begin with in the barracks, and then we ended up moving into Navy housings a little bit later. We lived in 671D Goldfinch Street. And in the and if you think about this was like kind of a small housing, and there was many, many rows of housing. And if you go on Google Earth and type in 671D Goldfinch Street, Oak Harbor, Washington, you'll see exactly the kind of, the layout of where it was. So there were probably hundreds, I would say at least probably 100 different little houses all together. And in the neighborhood were different kinds of kids from all over. We had some from, Japan and Asia and, Canada and Mexico and different parts of the country, and Virginia and Michigan and Washington State and California and Maine, all over. And some of the kids in that neighborhood were really good and really fun kids. And some of the kids didn't seem to come off as that, not that they weren't good, but you could tell they were probably going to head down a troublesome path. And I do remember this one kid, his name was Anthony, I can't remember his last name, but he used to take his eyelids and he would kind of like turn the top part of his eyelids upward on both of them. And it was one of the freakiest things that I had seen in person at that point. I was only in second grade when I'd moved there. I moved there from here, from Wise and Norton. We're in Norton now, but I went to the Wise school. So I went to Wise primary and kindergarten and first grade. And then I happened to move in the second and third and part of fourth grade. We had moved to Washington State. And that kid would always want to flip his eyelids like that. I don't know why we just didn't call him eyelids, but his name was Anthony, and he was, kind of a problem child. I think my mother or my stepdad looked out the window, and there was like there were like three steps and a little rail to walk, like a little walkway coming right into the house. And I think they must have looked through the peephole or out the window and saw him do that, and they were like, we don't really want you hanging out with that kid. And another thing that found me funny, that I found very funny, especially now looking back, is that some of the language that was used. Now, I never expected going out there, being a second and a third grader, the kind of horrible, horrible language that would be used on the playground. And at the time, for the most part, I did not want to be someone that had this kind of language. I didn't grow up in a household where we heard that type of language, and I had never really said that in my life up until that point. Now, there was a kid, David Martinez. He had a mullet. I do remember that. And he was also a troublesome kid, or my parents so thought, because one time, same kind of scenario, we were standing outside and they heard him say the word sucks. That sucks, man. That sucks, dude. And then they told me, we don't want you really hanging out with that kid because he has bad language. So I didn't really hang out with David Martinez, but I do remember him and Anthony being two particular kids in the neighborhood. And that is something, I do. I'd love to be able to go back there this summer. I'd like to be able to take a road trip back there this summer and kind of have that be part of my summer plans. Going back to a place, not only kind of a nostalgic place, but a place that some very informative years were formed living in this area. How many things would I remember going back, looking at it, thinking, oh, I remember that. I can't believe that I'd even forgotten that. And that leads me kind of to, the thought of, for those that you all have followed the show for a long, long time, back in the early 2000s up until, the name change back in late 2017 is I think when we started doing the Other People's Show. And, it's been brought back to a couple of different radio stations, and now we're here at the great WLSD. But that being said, that I'm trying to think. Didn't want to lose my train of thought. Oh, the one of the former cast members, PST, or Psycho Stalker Terry, now lives in a place called Slab City, California. And Slab City, California, I don't even know how to really explain Slab City if you've never even been there or heard of it. It is, it's mainly is a lawless town. So technically the laws do apply in California. However, the city, quote city, has a reputation of having very little government involved. Local police have jurisdiction, but they don't appear to get involved often, according to people who've lived there or visited there. And Terry's told me that as well. And it's kind of like a desert. It's kind of like this unincorporated, off-the-grid alternative lifestyle community. It's largely, it consists of, like snowbirds that come down from Canada and, South Dakotas in the winter. And it's near the, near the Salton Sea, which is one of my favorite places, one of my favorite movies, The Salton Sea with Val Kilmer. So I say that to say Terry is flying in from Slab City, spending a few weeks. She may even be on the show one night. We'll probably do a couple of shows. But she is coming in to visit. So if you see her, see her out, or you see her in a couple of my reels or things like that, kind of understand we go back a long way. And she was Psycho Stalker Terry on the show. PST. So what we're hoping to do is sometime in July, and we'll do the show from the road, is we're going to drive back across the country. And I hope that one of the places that I might be able to go is back to Oak Harbor, Washington. But if not, there's going to be an array of places that we go. And I do want to go to, maybe the Grand Canyon, maybe Mount Rushmore, Utah. Utah is a beautiful, beautiful area. I've been there once before with Terry, taking her back to California one time before. Although the time I took her back before was to Long Beach, not Slab City. So that's in the works as well. But I do have to say that it's going to be a fun, fun summer. And something else, I don't know if you all have thought about this or heard about this. I know you've heard about this, but I don't know if you've actually ever taken part in this, and that's called fasting. And I think that I do intermittent fasting on occasion, and I feel pretty good doing it. I like to be able to control things, not have things control me. And I had got to a point over the last little bit where I was consuming more, candy and junk food than I normally would have. For the most part, I don't drink soda or pop or caffeine drinks, other than I do drink coffee of the morning, and I'd quit coffee for a long, long time. So, but once I get out of something, I get into something else, and that's what I'm trying to not do. So the fasting is the intermittent fasting is what I had been doing. But I do want to say I have a few things if you're interested in the fasting. Now, obviously, this is not a medical show. This is a late night radio show, not even that late night, but a nighttime radio show. So there's a couple of different stages to fasting, and I would really like to have people's feedback on this, so you can leave that in the comments. We're going to start taking calls this summer as well. But with fasting 8 to 12 hours, now I know a lot of people do think that fasting is not for them. But hear me out before you make a judgment call on that. Just hear me out a little bit on that. So, fasting actually begins about 8 hours after your last meal. And now, I didn't know this, but, after all the, changes in your blood levels and the blood sugar and all that stuff, it's about 8 hours without food because your glucose begins to dip. You might experience hunger, fatigue, food cravings, and you might have trouble concentrating. Now, that's when a lot of people want to just give up. Oh, I'm feeling hungry. Let me just go ahead and give in to these cravings. And if you're wondering why I'm fasting, I do, it's just something that I feel that I need to do for many, many different reasons, for health reasons, to take control again. I do like to keep in a certain, I weigh about, 179 pounds, but I do want to get down to like 175 pounds. And, fasting is a way to kind of control a lot of these things. But there's a lot of health benefits in it too, as well. Now, if you can get to 12 hours of not eating, your body will begin to tap into your sugar storage, and your blood glucose levels will stabilize, which will mean that you'll have a little less hunger cravings. And the short-term fasting may also lower your blood pressure and increase insulin, making this type of fasting useful for people with type 2 diabetes. Now, I'm not going to turn this into a health show tonight, but I do think the fasting is the way to go. And I'm wondering what would be the hardest ways for you all to fast or things to give up. Because I'm to the point now where I do like breakfast foods, but breakfast is not the most important meal of the day. I do not believe that. I do not believe the research shows this. I do not believe that at all. Because if you think about this back eons ago, ages ago, back when we were hunters and gatherers. Do you think that they just, rolled up, let's eat some sausage and biscuits on the gravy and put, toast? No, they didn't. They got up. They probably got up before daylight. They went out and they hunted their food. So that's not going to be, for the most part, a 5-minute journey. That's going to take a while. Then they're going to have to clean it and skin it and then cook it. So this would be hours within the day, or they may even go out and catch these things earlier in the day, so you're eating them later in the day. So appetite suppression is kind of what fasting does, because it starts you start pretty much eating the fat cells within your body. And it gets easier as you fast longer. After the first stage of fasting, appetite would generally decline. So if you can get through these first 12 hours of no eating, 12 to 14 hours, and getting through that, your body saying that you're hungry, once you can get past that hurdle, I do agree that it's relatively, I don't want to say easy, because it isn't easy by any stretch of the imagination, but it's very attainable and very doable. And I'm going to, talk about it a little bit on the show and kind of chronicle my, doing it. I don't know, I'm probably in our, I've done a few little things. Like I did have some string cheese earlier today and some pretzels. So that's the main thing that I've had, and mainly water, and earlier today, coffee as well. A caramel macchiato is what I prefer. Now, I know a lot of people have been asking about some projects, and I'll touch on that really quickly tonight. I do understand. I always say there's some projects in the works, upcoming things. There are. Trust me. Please believe me. I said I was going to get us some co-hosts. We have some co-hosts. They're not here tonight, but generally we have some co-hosts at least come in. So we did do that. But there's some, Tyler Payne and I, we have a project coming out this October. I'm not sure the name of it yet. There's a couple of different titles I have in my mind. I want to consult with him about it. But it's in the stages of getting scored and getting, I think there's an edit of it now. Now, this will be the first time that I've directed and wrote a project. Tyler co-wrote as well, that I'm not fully editing. So this will be very, very interesting. I haven't, other than the bigger things that I've been in, the bigger cameos and things that I've been in, I've usually had complete creative control. So this will be very exciting for me as well. But that'll be debuting soon. And this summer, there might be a 48-hour film fest. If I can get a few people interested in that, we'll find one. We'll have a topic. You go in. You have 48 hours to write, film, edit, direct, complete a short film in those 48 hours. So I think that's going to be a cool thing to do. I know Tyler said he has participated in one, and I think Jake has as well. And also I want to say go to check out Main Street Music Show. You can check that out on all social media platforms. That's Jake's kind of voice theater. So please go support him and check that out. And there's going to be a couple other fun things. That we're going to do some more games, some tongue twisters, some Mad Lib, get some phone calls going, and all these fun things this summer. The winter's just a tough time for me. It's like coming out of a foggy frog. Coming out of the depression of the winter, and then the cold, and then we had a lot of flooding, a lot of snowing, a lot of driving in the bad weather. So now that we're about to get out of that, this is going to be like XRP and crypto. It's going to be taking off. It's going to be going straight up. This is not the taking it fast. This is not the fast lane to get there. There's always progress going on every single day behind the scenes, not just with the show, but any kind of creative endeavors on my part. And I'm going to be chronicling that a little bit better than I have been. But now that winter is in the rear view mirror, we'll see what can happen. And I do think that everyone is going to really enjoy some of the things that's going to happen. I don't really have much else tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Like I said on the last show, I'm not sure what movie we're going to be diving into. We might go into another 90s movie, maybe 2000s. Not really sure. We'll have to consult. But please go to all the social media pages. That's the Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, The Other People's Show. Hey, Susan, thank you for tuning in. And I want you all to wish your mothers a very, very happy Mother's Day Sunday. You all have a good night. And please tune in to all the shows on WLSD and WAXM. You all have a good night.